As you look at your competitors and all the social media gurus, you're probably feeling the pressure to post 3 times a day, 7 days a week on all the platforms. You're not getting the number of leads you want, so the logical answer must be post more, right? But that volume of content creation feels impossible. And that's because it is. You're pregnant, you're running a business that still relies on you for practically everything, and you want to take a maternity leave, but how could that possibly happen? Unless you have a pretty significant team, it's completely unrealistic and totally unnecessary in order to reach your goals. Hi, I'm Christina Hall, 6-figure business owner and mom of 2. I've taken 2 very different maternity leaves as an entrepreneur. The first time, I worked around the clock trying to prepare my business, but in the end, it still relied heavily on me. The second time, I built systems and a team, and my business actually grew while I was on leave. And now I'm on a mission to help you do the same. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to create a content strategy that's simple, doable, and can be done and scheduled before the baby is born so that you can continue to build brand awareness and bring in sales without worrying at all about content creation while you're home with your baby. And if you want help creating a strategy that's tailored to your business and your timeline, you can book a free strategy call with me using the link in the show notes. I'd love to support you. All right, let's dive in. So the first thing I want to say about content strategy during maternity leave is keep it simple, like really simple. I see so many business owners overcomplicate this part. You're trying to be on all the platforms, chasing trends, writing brand new posts every day, and for what? A lot of your followers aren't even seeing most of it. Your time and energy is so limited, so you need to keep things simple. And when I say simple, I mean a strategy that feels easy to maintain. That might mean posting 3 times a week instead of 5, or choosing just one platform like Instagram instead of trying to juggle Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, a podcast, all at once. You don't need to be everywhere to keep getting leads. You just need 1 or 2 channels that you do very well. Think about your ideal client. Where are they most likely to hang out? If you're a service-based business geared towards moms, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest will likely be your best bet. If you serve B2B, LinkedIn might be stronger. And if you're targeting a younger audience, TikTok might make the most sense. Choosing just 1 or 2 platforms makes it easier to make content that is native to the platform, which will automatically perform better. Each algorithm is a little different. The user preferences are a little different. So being able to just focus on understanding your platform of choice gives you far better results with less work. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I'm all about batching content ahead of time. But before you can do that, you have to make sure you have a clear system in place. Now, I'm not currently pregnant, but I am a mom of 2 running 2 businesses, and life is pretty crazy. So my current strategy is posting on Instagram and Facebook 4 times per week for Heart and Soul and 5 times per week for the Blissful Mompreneur. I also release a weekly podcast every Tuesday and a newsletter on the same day. And here's how I make it happen. Monday is podcast planning and editing day, and I usually outline 2 solo episodes and edit and upload 2 previously recorded ones. Tuesday is my copywriting day. I write 2 weeks worth of social media captions for both brands, and this helps me stay in the zone and get better output. Wednesday is my recording day. I batch record at least 2 solo episodes, and 3 Wednesdays per quarter, I record B-roll. 10 clips at a time, which gives me about 30 pieces of fresh B-roll per quarter. That means I only have to record B-roll 12 times a year. I also schedule all my social media assets on Wednesdays. Sometimes I schedule 2 weeks out if I know the upcoming week will be hectic, but I usually wait until closer to the post date so I can use trending audio. Everything lives in Google Drive. For the Blissful Mompreneur, I have a folder just for the podcast. Each episode gets its own subfolder with the outline, recordings, transcript, YouTube thumbnail, show notes, everything. It's all templated, so it's easy to plug and play. I also have a separate folder for Instagram and Facebook. Within that folder, I have a folder for all my creatives, separated by quarter. B-roll, photos, talking heads, and a folder for all the copy separated by month. Each week gets its own Google Doc with the hooks and the captions for that week's posts. That way, I can copy and paste straight from the doc when it's time to post. At Heart and Soul, my admin team records B-roll weekly at the studio. Since we collect media releases during enrollment, I always have fresh B-roll that I could use without worrying about getting permission. Now, when I was on maternity leave, social media wasn't a part of our lead generation strategy at the time, so I didn't outsource it. But now that it is, if I were going on leave again, I'd create all the content, the copy and the creatives in advance, and then I'd have my team schedule everything 1 week ahead. The only reason I wouldn't use a scheduler like Metricool is because you can't pair posts with trending audio. And as you may know, posts tend to do better when you use trending audio. But if you're doing more talking head reels, you can pre-schedule those pretty easily because typically you're not using trending audio when you're doing a talking head reel. Bottom line, you just want to figure out a workflow that works for you, one that feels doable, and one that you can prep in batches. And above all, keep it organized. That part alone will save you so much time. All right, so this next piece is something I've been really focusing on lately. You want to create content that actually speaks to and connects with your ideal audience. You want it to land. You want it to sound like you're speaking directly to them. So one thing I've been doing, and I can't recommend this enough, is making sure I'm using the actual words of my ideal audience. Not what they say in my words, but the exact way they describe their struggles, their fears, and what they want. And here's how I do that. And this is my favorite hack right now. I use ChatGPT's deep research feature. I did this for both Heart and Soul and Blissful Mompreneur. I literally typed in the following prompt, and I'm going to read it to you word for word so you can try it as well. I need you to do some market research on my ideal client. I help pregnant business owners set up their business for a profitable, stress-free maternity leave where the business not only runs but grows while they are on leave. Please find specifics on their biggest pain points when they are planning their maternity leave or family planning. Think pregnancy pain points, life pain points, and business pain points. Then give me their desired outcomes. What do they want their maternity leave to look like? What do they want to happen in their business? What would be a success? Also find what they've tried to prepare their business for maternity leave. Think hiring team members or contractors, reassuring clients, sales and marketing, service delivery, systems. And then include any other insights you find. We want as much direct quotes as possible. Don't paraphrase anything. I want to know exactly what my ideal clients are experiencing and feeling. And then ChatGPT asked me a few follow-up questions. And then it took 15 to 30 minutes to go dig into forums and blog comments and Reddit and wherever else it looks. And the output was wild. It was so good. Actual quotes from pregnant entrepreneurs talking about their exact struggles. I was like, how is this free? And by the way, I think you can do this with the free version, but I pay $20 a month for the pro version, and it is totally worth it. Even if you just pay for 1 month just to do this particular exercise. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff I now use in my content. I pull those quotes, I rephrase them a little if I need to, and I build posts around them. And I've noticed my reach and followers have increased since I started doing this. I'm also trying to lean into storytelling more. I recently started reading Matthew Dix's book, Stories Sell, and it completely changed the way I think about how I create content. I try to use stories in everything I create. I think of a client question, and instead of creating a post that will answer the question, I think about a relevant story I could use to answer the question. Like at my music school, people always ask, what's the best age to start piano lessons? And instead of just creating a reel with the answer, I made a reel with a video of my 2.5-year-old son playing piano, and I shared why I'm not getting him lessons yet. At the time I'm recording this episode, it hasn't been released yet, but I'm so curious how it performs. Over the years, I've had so many mentors and coaches teach the idea of selling with stories, but I don't think I've ever fully understood how to capture that. And this book by Matthew Dix has really helped me see how I can do that differently. So when you are creating content, do some customer research and infuse stories as much as you can. And if you have time to check out the book, I highly recommend it. All right, so let's talk about something that's going to save you a ton of time and sanity, which is reusing your high-performing content. And seriously, this is a necessity. So as I mentioned before, most of your followers aren't seeing everything you post. So if something performed well, like it got a bunch of likes, comments, shares, or brought in a new follower, use it again. Here's how I do it. I look at my analytics, and then I do one of two things. Sometimes I just repost it exactly as it is. Same video, same caption, same everything. Other times I tweak it a bit. Maybe I take a hook that worked really well and pair it with a new piece of B-roll, or I turn that same hook into a talking head reel. But coming up with the idea is usually the hardest part. So being able to take a piece of content that already performed well and just reworking it a bit is so much easier. And trust me, most people didn't see the first time. And even if they did, they will probably benefit from hearing the message or offer again. So if you're creating your content for maternity leave, take a look at your best content and see how you can reuse it or give it a slight refresh. It will save you so much time and energy. All right, so let's talk about matching your content strategy to your timeline and capacity. The big thing here is there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Everyone's situation is different, and you have to tailor your approach based on how much time you have before your leave and what your current workload looks like. If you're someone who's got a solid 6 months before maternity leave, you might have the luxury to keep up with a more in-depth content strategy. Maybe that means you can stick to your usual posting schedule. And if you have a team and you've created a lot of content already, you can leverage them to help create content in your brand voice using the content you've already developed as a guide. But if you're closer to your due date, say only 6 weeks out, it's all about simplifying. If you're currently posting daily, maybe scale that back to 3 times a week. The goal is to maintain a consistent presence without overwhelming yourself. So figure out what's realistic for you and your business, and then you can create a strategy that is doable while still continuing to build your brand and your business. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Just to recap, we talked about how to simplify your content strategy so it's actually doable. I walked you through my own system for batching, how to create content that connects using audience language and storytelling, how to reuse what's already working, and how to match your strategy to your timeline and capacity. Take some time this week to review your current content strategy and your timeline and come up with a sustainable plan that works for you and your business. And make sure to tune in next week because I'm sitting down with Alexandra Michelle Gonzalez, an award-winning marketing expert and founder of Savvy Marketers. She worked with some of the biggest global brands, and in this conversation, we're diving into how you can apply big brand strategy to your small business, especially when you're short on time. It's practical, it's powerful, and I promise you don't want to miss it. And if you want personalized help creating a content strategy for maternity leave or figuring out what to delegate, what to batch, or how to prep your team, you can book a free strategy call with me using the link in the show notes. I'd love to support you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll catch you in the next episode.